So let's begin with the first thing, which is the writing behind the actual movie. How did you and Jay actually come to write that together?
Well, it was an interesting and quite dynamic process of the writing, because I think usually you might develop a script and then, go finance the film and then go make it. Whereas here, Vertigo said, do you want to do something similar to Gareth? We've got some money committed here, that's what it is, go make it, and sort of reverse engineer a script, if you like, into that, and in quite a short space of time. So that was cool, it meant that there was this opportunity to go and make a film, but had to come up with it and do it quite quickly. So that was exciting, and Jay even came out to Jordan where we shot the film the week up until principal photography, where we were just improvising with the actors still and still working and refining what we had then, right up to the day we shot. So quite a dynamic and exciting process really, and we wanted it to feel unique from Gareth's film, whilst remaining sort of faithful to the sort of principles and ethos of that kind of filmmaking.
Yeah, because I actually wanted to ask you that. Did he give you like the complete freedom to do whatever you want with the movie, or did he try to somehow guide you?
No, I mean he was fairly busy on another big monster movie at the time, so we met up and actually had a beer around a friend's flat, a mutual friend's flat, okay, and he sort of said good luck with your monster movie, and I said good luck with yours, and no, it was cool. I think he felt, look, use it as a legacy and go and do your own thing,
yeah,
and that was great. And in a way, that was the biggest support he could have given. I think if it had been a sort of an executive controlling process, it wouldn't have been what this filmmaking's about. For him it was about the guys at Vertigo saw the talent he had and wanted to back that, and said loved his idea for it and said go do it, and let him get on with it in many ways. And he went off and had an adventure in Central America and came back with his footage and spent a fair while working on the visual effects and the edit process, and that was the same here for me really. They said it should maybe sit a little bit more in genre, but it's got to have some monsters in it. But yeah, like make sure there's some of them in there, and then other than that, go and work it out and do what you'd like to do as well. And so quite a unique sort of opportunity in that way.
Okay.
So we went, myself and Ben, the producer, went to Jordan on a recce, and just were amazed by the sort of prehistoric landscapes and the texture of the place and how beautiful it was and how interesting it was, and it would feel so different aesthetically as well to Gareth's film. And sort of being in these deserts, I remember that the second night we got there, we camped out in the deserts in southern Jordan.
Is you filmed right in the desert?
Yeah. Well, we shot a lot in the Marne in the north, and on the military bases around there. And then I sort of tried to structure it as chronologically as I could to the story, and then we sort of went on more of a road trip down through into the southern deserts, where we worked with like the sort of the nomadic and Bedouin tribes and things like that.
Technically speaking, was that a bit trickier to film because of the whole landscape and being in the desert and all the sand and everything?
Yeah.
Did it become a problem at one point?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we got really badly hit by some sandstorms when we were in the desert, and we were a very low resourced film. So the first 2 weeks we sort of did a bit more of the sort of genre sort of sequences and the shootouts, and so that was a bit more pyrotechnics. And then it was a very, very reduced down crew. It was just a handful of us just travelling our way through the desert. The whole film shot on one handheld camera on my cinematographer's shoulder. There's no equipment and no vehicles, and we just kind of we had a couple of vehicles and just made it work really. And so when we got hit by things like sandstorms, we were really hit by them.
Really
there wasn't a load of trailers we could go and retreat to. So you sort of wrap your scarf around your head or tried to climb in a car if there was one available. And actually, there was a moment where we got hit by a sandstorm, and instead of retreating, we actually just embraced it. And for me, that was sort of real. It was a moment in the shoot that sort of encapsulated the spirit of the filmmaking, because we had to keep going. We had 4 weeks to shoot this thing, and so we got out into the sandstorm and turned over and did it, and captured some really beautiful images, I think, and that was the spirit, and I had actors that were prepared to go and get sandblasted and a crew as well. So it was quite a special moment for me. But every day on the film was a sort of story in a way for me, like whether we were hanging out with the Black Hawk helicopter or working with, like say, Bedouin tribes people in we were filmed in a Palestinian refugee town, and so every day had this really incredible spirit to it, and I hope the film's got a lot of soul in that, as a result of that. You know, and some of it was more structured in terms of the visual effects elements, but other times we were placing the actors with very beautiful, special people, and sort of trying to find form and narrative within those sequences, and just existing with them at those times. So I think the film has a sort of it sort of changes a lot, I think, and it has quite a big journey to it, you know. And I think each sequence can feel quite different in its own way often.
Which is good, always good.
Yeah.
How is this different from doing a television show? Because you have Misfits or Blackout as a background.
Yeah. I mean, in some ways, the mechanics of it isn't different, but I think certainly the journey and the spirit of this felt very different. I mean, Misfits, you know, particularly is very special to me, but you know, we're shooting in more kind of familiar environments. You know, I was shooting around southeast London, and it was, you know, that was exciting in a different way, and working with those brilliant young casts and very funny scripts and being very visual with it. But here, I think going on the journey and the sort of bonds you form with the actors and the people that you work with, and the you know, I know it sounds cliche, but this genuinely was a kind of we did form quite a sort of tight little family as a group of people that made it, because we had to sort of pull it off. And so I think that it had a different, quite a different sort of special spirit to it, really, than TV show. I suppose it feels like you're making something that you hope has a little more, a longer life as well, I suppose. You know, I'm learning that, I think, as a first film, you know, that how long the life of a film can be and the stages of it. You know, it's a much quicker dynamic process shooting a TV show. Yeah.
Okay. Did you have the cast, especially Joe and Sophia, in mind before, or did you just, they went through the whole casting process?
Yeah, no, I did a very extensive casting process. I mean, I went to Detroit because I thought we should meet real kids from Detroit, and one guy I met there who'd done 2 tours of Iraq, actually. He formed part of the unit and part of the cast, and I worked with my casting director here, Julie Harkin, who I'd done Misfits with, and we met, you know, loads of brilliant kids here, and then I actually cast in New York and LA as well, so I did a really extensive search, and you know, ultimately it was just, you know, casting the best actors for the role, and there's a lot of brilliant talent here, and so that worked for us, and there's 2 other American cast as well, and sort of 2-3 British Irish actors.
They're coming up, aren't they?
But they're coming up really exciting. I mean, the cast is really exciting. I mean, Johnny Harris is a phenomenal talent. I think he's, you know, one of the finest actors in this country, and Sam Keeley is a real talent, and he's you know, he shines in the film, and he's, you know, he's someone I actually cast him in an episode of Misfits, and I kept my eye on him ever since, and he's doing brilliantly, and obviously Joe Dempsey is doing fantastically well as a rising star. So, and Parker and Kyle are fantastic as well. So we're blessed with a really brilliant cast, and also not just the talent of actors they are, but the fact that, like I said, I wanted to create this immersive environment for them, and this very committed, you know, process. And we're exploring some really important themes and some quite dark and difficult themes to explore, and they're really committed to it. You know, they stayed method for the whole shoot, and it's all very well me just trying to create that environment. You've got to have actors that commit back, and I was very privileged to have that.
Okay, thanks a lot, though.
Thank you.